guys, welcome to another episode of the Akedika show. I trust you've had a wonderful week. I am your host Hope, and you're joining me here today for a discussion of all things personal and politics. So please do join me in the comment section and the chat section to have an honest and open conversation on the things that I'm going to shed light on today. But before we get into it, what kind of a week have you guys had? It's been a very interesting week. Adult life has been adulting. I don't know about you guys, but yeah, it's been a very interesting week. And it's when I come here, it always feels like some me time. It always feels like a time to release and conversate. So I really do enjoy this time, guys. I really enjoy this time as much as it's sometimes we're touching on serious matters. I enjoy, engaging in these kind of discourses because they're very eye-opening and they give us different perspectives as well. And they also just allow us to focus on things that might not necessarily get the right attention in the media, or they may be mentioned, but they don't touch on them in ways that how they affect people. They might just give us information, but they don't necessarily get into the discussion of how these things affect everyday people all around the world. But before we go any further as well, just want to give our respect to a wonderful rock star, Tina Turner, who has passed at the great age of 83. She has lived a life, she has been an inspiration, and her legacy will carry on. And she's already been given tributes by the likes of Beyonce on her tour, and everybody else who is sharing the memories they shared with her. And one thing I really love about things like this, they reveal the unity within the women and the culture as well. Like the women who in Hollywood or artists and whatever, you see the unity, and you can see how over the years this women's paths have crossed, like the likes of Oprah Winfrey, Alicia Keys. They were all in a picture together with Hailey Bailey, is it, I believe. And I was just like, I was so shocked. I'm like, when did these people cross paths? But you just see over the years the things that unite people and bring people together. And I think it's so beautiful to witness, to see those kind of things happening. But let's get into it. The first story that I want to touch on today is concerning mental health, and in particular to young people. It's been reported that an investigation has been warned that young people with complex mental health needs are being put in significant risk by being placed in general children's wards in England in the NHS. The Healthcare Safety Investigation Branch, after 2 cases of 2 young people trying to take their own life, were compelled to carry out an investigation as to what has been going on for quite a while now. And a lot has been uncovered. Families are speaking out. A lot of families have reached out to the BBC to try and tell their story, but it's obviously finally come to light. And even now, it's still being quite buried, I believe. I had to really search and dig for this story. It was not just something I found, front headline. And that is one thing you find. Like sometimes the media will take so long to talk on an issue, and then when they're forced to be in a position to talk on it, they don't necessarily make it the main focus until people are like, well, actually, we want to hear about that. We want to see what's going on there. Can you tell us more about what's going on? And, the UK, when it comes to the healthcare sector, it's very structured. It's very structured. Whether you have mental health needs, you get placed in the appropriate facilities and units. Whether your needs are physical, mental, or health-wise, the hospital is the hospital that deals with the physical health conditions that people experience on a day-to-day basis. Children struggling with autism or mental health should not be in the children's unit, with kids being treated for diseases that they are dealing with and battling with, for example. So these poor conditions and way of life, like there has been a case where somebody has been in the facility for almost a whole year. They spent a whole year almost in the children's facilities in the hospital, even though their needs were mental health related. And the NHS is already struggling with backlogs, struggling with being able to get people in. And even though their attention should be faced on physical health, mostly, for the most part, why are people dealing with autism or mental health or anything related to that being kept in hospitals? It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all. And it's obviously not been good for their mental health either because of the environment they're being kept in. Because when you're in the appropriate facilities, you're given the appropriate treatment according to your situation. And as somebody who has been in an environment of childcare, of a childcare's home, you know, their home is catered to them. It allows them to be able to go outside and get that fresh air, to be able to do activities with, you know, the staff able to go out and do activities, to use their time. And obviously it's government funded, so they have a budget, and with that they're able to widen that horizon and just enjoy their life and spend time with their family as well. And I'm sure if some of these kids are kept in there during the COVID period, I'm sure it was very restricted as well with the time they could spend with their family and things like that. So it's very strange. I feel like there's still a lot to uncover when it comes to this particular story. A lot is still being swept under the rugs right now, but I hope that those parents continue to fight for their children and that they will not be silenced. And this is not just one of those things that's going to be swept under the rug, but people will be held accountable for this as well, because it's bad when children try to commit suicide in the hospital. It's really bad. It's not a small thing to say, especially in a country like the UK, who should take pride in the healthcare system that they provide for people with special needs and health problems that they experience. So, and another thing I want to touch on as well, it's actually been spoken about in Parliament this week, and I had a discussion with two other people this week. Ironically, it just seems to be the conversation about how some of these facilities, the people who work in them, are not even fit to be working with vulnerable young people. Imagine people with records, like criminal records, working in homes and facilities with vulnerable young people. And obviously, having a criminal record does not necessarily mean that you are dangerous or you are a danger to society. However, that is not the place to be working. Yes, you may have had your reform and you may have had your reparations and you've been allowed back into society to work, but you know, there are places where they would not be allowed in a school. You know, criminal record history will not be allowed in a school. So why are you being allowed in a children's home that is even more intimate, a place where they live, sleep, eat? You know, that's where they're the most vulnerable. So if they don't allow them in schools, why are they allowing them in their homes? It doesn't make sense to me. That is one thing that the government needs to work on big time. And also people who themselves face mental health issues and take medication for it, like to the extent that they have to take medication for it, also working in these facilities. I don't believe that's appropriate either, because these are the kind of places where you're being able to have full and emotional control over yourself, being able to be self-aware and in full control of yourself is a very important thing to be, because you never know how a child is going to react. An outburst, you're never going to expect it. So you need to be at your best and at your full capacity. So again, these are people that should not be able to work with kids, unfortunately. And this is not to discriminate or to marginalize people for their conditions or whatever reason. There's plenty other jobs that need filling that don't include children, especially vulnerable children. Because at the end of the day, this is about vulnerability. And vulnerability mixed with vulnerability, it's just not a good mix. Personally, I don't think anyway. But let me know, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the chat and let me know what you think of that. Speaking of young people, this is another one that has taken the internet by storm. And I believe last week or the week before, we actually spoke about young people and the effects of social media on young people. And this is a prime example of what we were talking about, guys. So just have a look at this young TikTok prankster having a conversation with Piers Morgan, which is also another thing I want to touch on after we see the video.
Went through their door, right? But it's not your house. You're not supposed to be in there.
Oh, no shit.
You are causing a lot of alarm to that poor woman and to her children who are in the house. You then terrorise this poor elderly woman and take her dog away and traumatise her.
So the story about that... Hang on.
Let me speak.
Yeah, because no. Let me speak. Let me speak. No.
I'm going to tell you.
Let me talk about that situation.
No, for the viewers who... No, wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
For the viewers who don't know what you've done,
hold up.
I'm going to tell them.
Because
no, you hold on.
TV right now.
No, you can hold on.
Right now.
I'm explaining. I'm explaining.
They already know what's been happening.
Don't just keep talking like an idiot. Right? Don't. Let me finish what the viewers don't know you did. You go up and you do these things. You take a dog from an elderly woman. You leapfrog over the top of an Orthodox Jewish man standing at the side of the road minding his own business. You go up to women in the street and say, do you want to die?
It wasn't a woman, it was a man. And she even
There were also women that you did this to.
There was maybe a woman there, but I only say it to the man.
Right. You shouldn't be saying it to anybody.
Fair enough. But
why, in the name of so-called prankster humour, why cause so much alarm and distress to so many people? Do you get your kicks out of doing that?
Not necessarily, but you could say that this whole public outroar just makes me laugh because people are getting hurt over something that didn't happen to them. And that's how I see it as.
What do you mean?
People are getting hurt over something that didn't happen to them. Everyone acts like they have this persona like they don't care. Social media is a facade, this, that and the other. But when me comes out and does the mad thing, everyone has something to say.
It's not a mad thing.
It's the mad thing. It's the mad thing. You already said it was the mad thing. It's the mad thing.
No, it's not mad. It's moronic.
Piers Morgan. You know, before we get to Piers Morgan, first of all, these are the consequences of a young man who, forgive me, but is probably talentless, is using social media platform to be a prankster for views, which he is achieved. He's achieved the views, he's achieved the likes, he's achieved the media attention that he was craving. And the last thing he needs is to be put on a respectable platform and to speak his mind, because what exactly is he speaking? He's not like he's not even sorry for what he's done, first of all. Just to take a back step, this guy has been arrested. He was, the police, after the video went viral of him going into a family home, was looked for by the police and was arrested. Secondly, his social media accounts were taken down, and so that he did not have a platform anymore. However, I just checked on TikTok. He was back on TikTok 20 hours ago and he's already over 1,000 followers and still counting. Videos are already doing numbers, almost 100,000 of views on all his videos, which he uploaded less than a day ago. So that obviously didn't stop him. And having that interview with Piers Morgan was not a good idea, because that's just another thing that has brought him traction. It's brought him media attention that he didn't even need any further. So it just completely defeats the purpose of trying to correct what is not right, trying to tell young people that this is not an appropriate way to behave. Because to me, that seems like rewarding bad behavior. You've done something bad, now we're going to give you a platform and make you even more famous. That's exactly what just happened. And there's young people who are thinking, rah, if he's done that and he's made it to Piers Morgan show, imagine what I can do. Maybe I'll get an opportunity to speak on the Piers Morgan show or be on another platform where I can speak as well and get even more followers and more attention and more viewers. It's horrendous. Like, you know, pranks have always taken place online. Let's not make it seem as if he's the only prankster on social media. However, pranks amongst friends that are not harmless, if your viewers find that entertaining, fair enough to you. Pranks, you know, maybe, you know, we've seen pranks that have been done to people in the general public, but they have been harmless and they have been sometimes even brought people together and brought unity in people. These are things that we've seen growing up, shows that we've watched on TV. But when they become harmless, putting other people's lives at risk, putting your own life at risk, you know, there's a lot of people saying, if this was America, that boy would not be alive today. He would have been shot dead. And who would blame those people for shooting him? If you go into people's house, a man, a wife and a husband and their 2 children, you go into their home, you're recording them, and you're like, rah, look at all these things. They're asking you, can you please get out of our house? What are you doing here? And he states that he went back to apologize. However, I don't see any remorse there. I don't see any remorse there whatsoever. And this young man, in my opinion, he's just been given an even bigger platform. And I know he's not going to stop any moment now. All I see is a young boy who's done something very stupid, being rewarded for his bad actions, getting even more famous overnight. So it's very sad. It's very, very sad because I know that there are a lot of young people who are going to see this. And he states social media is just a facade. Well, if social media is just a facade, how are people making careers out of it? How are people making a lifestyle out of it? Social media, yes, it's a facade. People post their best, or they post the thing that makes them get the views. However, it still has an impact on people, on their mental health, on the way they see things, on the things that they think they can do, or the things that they think they're entitled to, based on what they see other people doing. So no, it's not just a harmless facade place where you can just do things that go without consequences. And unfortunately, the fact that he doesn't see it that way, or he does see it that way, but he doesn't care because he wants to monetize on it. He wants to be able to make a career and a living out of it. And it's very, very sad. And I saw it in passing, but it was another podcast as well that brought something to my attention that I didn't even realize before, because I'm not a fan of KSI's. I don't really know him. All I know is it's just a young, successful black man, man of color who has made money off YouTube. And they stated how his original videos were of him making fun of people of color, making fun of people of African descendants, making fun of how African people behaved, or what they said, or what they ate, or how whatever it was. But it was not in a way that was dignified. It was in a way that actually probably ridiculed a culture or a way of life of people. And he became a success as a result of that, you know. But nobody wants to talk about that. Nobody wants to talk about how somebody's willing to sell out their own culture, their heritage, for success. And it's very unfortunate because people are going to keep thinking it's okay to do that, and they're going to keep doing it, and the next generation are going to keep doing it. And unfortunately, I don't see that changing as of yet. Where we are right now, I don't see how that's going to change right now. Because as I can see, I don't see any young people. And there are people who are encouraging him, and people who are like supporting him, you know. But what happened with Piers Morgan, I believe he's just become a clout chaser. And I don't mean to disrespect the man. He's lived a life. He's had a career, a long career. But the people he's interviewing lately, I'm like, why give those people a platform? If you believe that they are bad fruit, rotten fruit, why give them a platform? All they do is just rot more fruit, you know, put bad fruit in a bowl of fresh fruit. Eventually the good fruit get rotten. So with that analogy and with that way of thinking, I just don't think it's wise to give people such a platform. And I'm wondering if his other social media is going to get taken down, which I highly doubt, because you can take it down, the boy can create 1 million accounts. And how long are the police going to be on his back? How long are they going to continue to, you know, keep up with him and make sure that he stays in line? For somebody who got arrested, he doesn't seem very afraid of any consequences if he's willing to wake up the next day and create another social media account. You know, that is a boy who's not afraid of consequences. And it just sets a standard and a tone. It just shows the standard in our society. And last but not least, guys, this title is, well, this is a conversation I feel like comes around every 10 years. It's highly concentrated, and then it quiets down a little bit, and then it heightens again every 10 years. This is a conversation that is very much ongoing in the UK for as long as I can remember, or as long as I've been studying politics. And, you know, have a listen, guys.
Net migration to the United Kingdom is far too high. That was already clear from the previous set of official data. The ONS have today amended their previous published estimate of net migration for the year ending June 2022 to 606,000. The statistics published today indicate that net migration has flatlined since then. In the year ending December 2022, they estimate that net migration remains at 606,000. These particularly high figures are in large part due to temporary and exceptional factors, such as the UK's Ukraine and Hong Kong BNO schemes. Last year, more than 200,000 Ukrainians and 150,000 Hong Kong British nationals overseas made use of the routes to life or time in the United Kingdom. These schemes command broad support from the British public, and we were right to introduce them. The government
Well, there you have it, guys. A lot of this migration doesn't just start out of anywhere, and that's one thing that I want to address. A lot of them start as a result of a scheme that the government puts in place and most of the time delegate to Commonwealth countries and Commonwealth nations. So it's not just people wake up overnight, unless it's people, refugees running away from a war zone. A lot of the time, immigration in most Commonwealth countries is a result of schemes that UK government puts in place, and that's because they're either looking for workers to come and fill gaps in the country and in the economy. Let's not try and sugarcoat it. They need more people to come and work to fill the gap in the economy. When the economy is failing or things are not looking as if, British nationals are able to live to the standard or to be able to fill that gap themselves, they need to be able to, get more people in. And this happened in early 2000s, happened in 2010, happened again in 2020. And I am not saying that I cannot be against immigration, because I am a product of it myself. And I think it's, when not abused and used appropriately, it's a good thing for both countries, because at the end of the day, let's not forget, a lot of the time the economies that are struggling, let's not rehash old problems, but it's a result of what the Western world has done and how they have suppressed other economies, and they continue to suppress other economies. So people have no choice but to come to the Western world. It's the place where your dreams can come true. It's like the American dream. I don't know if we have a slogan in the UK, but everybody has a belief that when they come to the UK, they can fulfill that life and achieve success, essentially. And most of the time, that's not the case, because, no offense, but British people are very proud, and they're not even willing to do certain jobs in their own country. They're not willing to fill that gap. That's why people have to come from other countries to come into the UK. In the news today, they were discussing on Sky News how some people would never do fruit picking as a job. Imagine asking a young person coming out of college, or maybe they didn't get the qualifications or further their education, and they're told fruit picking is one of the choices as a job they can have. It's unheard of. People think machines do that now. People think, oh, robots do that. Humans don't do that anymore. You try and ask some of the youth whether some of the jobs that still exist, they have no perception of them. They don't know these jobs exist, because they believe that they no longer need to fill that gap. There's been plenty of revolutions in the UK, but there are still jobs that need the manual human labor. They cannot be replaced by robots. And AI intelligence right now is replacing a lot of jobs, but ChatGPT is replacing mostly very high professional jobs, actually, jobs that people with master's degrees, PhDs, jobs in the tech world. Those are the kinds of jobs being replaced, not the mundane jobs, the routine jobs that need the hands-on. And a lot of people from abroad are willing to come into the country and do those jobs. But it's a very sticky one. I just don't like what comes as a result of these kind of statistics being released. There comes the hatred, there comes the division, the discrimination. People feel entitled to shout racial slurs at people on the street and treat them as if, they have come to invade their space and take from them. It's not nice. All it does is cause division. So I always feel like when this message of immigration is happening or coming around, the government, do they have any intention to really create harmony between people, or is this just they don't care whether they cause division or harmony between people based on the information that they're given and how they're given it? Because at the moment it's just negative connotations. All I hear is negative connotations. After people have come, filled the job roles that you've been needing to be filled, and as soon as it becomes too much or overloaded, then you're like, oh, too much immigration, we need to immigration control. And that's the message that's being passed. You know, you can't pick and choose when people benefit you, and then when you can just shut the door on them. It's not fair. And the worst thing is that we take the best people, the best professions out of their countries to come and benefit our economy, and then their economies remain stagnant. They don't grow, you know. And it's a demand thing. If they're gonna get paid more to be a doctor here, of course someone's gonna want to come and work here if they're being offered to bring their family as well, relocate their whole family. It's a sticky one. I know there are people who abuse the scheme. I'm not blind to that. It's something worth talking about as well. But there's a sense of desperation in the world. In some parts of the world, people are running away from poverty. They're running away from joblessness. They're running away from lack of opportunities. You need to understand this. So when they come to a country and they see people not taking advantage of what's been put right in front of them or handed to them on a silver platter, we can agree to disagree. What's being handed on a silver platter, it's sad. It's very sad. But I know a lot of people who have migrated to this country and have regretted it immensely, because they're like, my happiness was not worth exchanging my happiness for money, or for coming to work myself to death. Some people don't believe it's worth it. So no, the UK is not the end all and be all. And we should not treat immigrants as if, or migrants in the process of migration, as if it's this thing that wants to take over the UK. But guys, just be kind. Whatever happens with this whole migration thing, kindness, and as long as people are not discriminating against each other, then, you know, that's all I'm saying. But thank you so much for joining me today, guys, and I hope that you're able to, you know, give me your thoughts in the comment section as well. I would love the feedback, because a lot of these, I really want to know other people's thoughts, that I'm not the only person thinking this. We're all thinking similar, or we are thinking, you know, maybe you have your own opinion, your complete own opinion about these kind of matters, whether it's migration, whether it's children, vulnerable children in the healthcare sector, and even in their own homes, and the effects on social media on people. But thank you so much for joining me today, guys. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you here next time on the Hope Akedika Show. Make sure to comment and subscribe to the YouTube channel, on Instagram as well, at Breakthrough TV and at the Hope Akedika Show. Thank you.